back to the channel. Huge thank you to the sponsors of the channel. I really appreciate it. It is what makes the trouble of producing these videos really worth it. So thank you very, very much. In truth, these videos are mostly for you. So thank you again. Yet again, we are looking at some books, and the dear Lord knows this is making me feel like a used car salesman. But be this as it may, I will take this opportunity to do something else, to yet again complain about the situation that I am subjected to. Once upon a time, ladies and gentlemen, I knew perfectly where each one of my nearly 3,000 or more volumes are. I could tell you from the top of my head on which shelf, which in order, in which bookcase, each and every single one of my books was. I didn't have to think about it, I didn't have to roam about it. All I had to do was stretch my hand and grab the book and have it. Ever since the SYSTER channel showed up, I have absolutely no clue where my books are. And I'm an archaeologist. I'm a systematic man. I like things to be classified. I like my books to be in specific order. I like to know where my books are when I'm using it. But no such luck. So, with this cheerful introduction to the topic, let us delve into books. On the SYSTER channel, the link is somewhere in the corners, who knows where she will put it. You can you can page through these books. These are 2 of the 3 volumes, and this is where my earlier rant goes into play. I am only interested in the Age of Sail, so that is why I have bought only the 3 volumes that are dealing with the Age of Sail. Winfield is an author that does not need introduction either on this channel, on the SYSTER channel, or really among any enthusiasts of maritime history and ship modeling. These books really are the first step in any research project. Whenever you are faced with a vessel, a Royal Navy vessel for which you want to learn something additional, the first step really is Mr. Winfield's book. And it is very conveniently divided into the really cool stuff, that is to say 17th century, the moderately interesting 18th century, and then the 3rd volume is it's beginning to get boring period of maritime history, that is to say the Nelsonian/Napoleonic period of naval warfare. Yes, I'm perfectly well aware that 99.9% of the people out there are actually interested only in that period. Not that they would be able to pinpoint years or when the transition between Revolutionary War, Napoleonic War happens, but this is the period that most people know. If you mention Royal Navy to them, the only thing they will know is Nelson. If you ask for a ship, the only ship they will ever know is Victory, or if they happen to be Americans, then USS Constitution, of course. But let me assure you, there were other ships that served in the navies in this period. For the 3rd one, besides Victory, yet again, I know this is my pet peeve. I cannot. It is like a healing wound. It constantly itches. So no matter what you do, no matter what you're talking about or thinking about, you always turn around and you start scratching it. The same is Victory and Kroum. Lovely ship, absolutely, highly successful. As a design, as sailing qualities, as a fighting ship, as a very, very active career. But by God, most of its career was actually in her earlier pre-1803 view, which is so much more beautiful. All right, let me try to stop there, at least temporarily. Returning to the vessels, all my research interest, all my love, all my passion, everything is really concentrated in this period and the equivalent Jim Bender book on Dutch ships. Perhaps some other time I can compare the 2 approaches, Bender's and Mr. Winfield's, but if I'm to research, if I'm to start researching the history of a ship and go through the archives, the first thing that I would do is start with what Winfield has listed. It is a short paragraph usually that describes the launching of the ordering of the ship, the laying of the keel, completion and launch, first commissioning, and usually has a brief paragraph on rough outline of the history of the vessel. Sometimes you can find even references to the archives, but usually this is more than enough for you to figure out how to go and navigate for additional information into the archives themselves. I will get an example of this using this book. And they're still available. There is a link below the video for purchasing these books if by some miracle of miracles you still do not have them. But again, on the sister channel, you're going to see a page through the book. But the reason I'm pointing it is because this is where I started on two vessels. The one was brief research, into Admiral Rodney's flagship at the Battle of the Saints. Long story short, why we were interested, I collected most of the logbooks that survived, copied them, photographed them, with the idea of one day transcribing them. The project did not materialize, so they are lingering in my archives. There is, however, another story here that I became interested. In Mystic Seaport Museum, there is a beautiful contemporary 18th century, the so-called Georgian-style ship model of the Burford. Needless to say, there are more than one Burford. The first one was part of the 30-ship program listed over here, begun in 1677, approved by Parliament on the insistence of King Charles II, easily one of the most brilliant monarchs ever to rule. But the second Burford was constructed in 1722. And the reason it is of such interest to me is because she was the flagship of no lesser person than Admiral Vernon, Old Grey. Grog. And that is the ship that on which he flew his flagship when he captured Portobello. And as many of us would know, there is a Portobello Road in West London, sort of northwesterly London. It is named after this battle. The story is, of course, quite cool. He, shall we say, less than tactful person in his life, but excellent seaman and commanding officer, had been a pest in the neck of the government in the 1730s. So when the War of Jenkins' Year began, and don't start me on this here down another rabbit hole, when that war began, Vernon became a real pest in the neck of the government. He kept on telling them that the Spanish Empire in the Americas is ripe for falling, that all that is required is energetic action, that especially Portobello can be taken without any problem whatsoever. That give him 6 ships of the line and he'll take Portobello. Portobello had the reputation of practically impregnable in England, rightly or wrongly. So the government said, okay, now, me boy, you have really stepped into it, and now we can get rid of you and your constant nagging. So they appointed him to a command of a squadron of 7 warships, which they sent to Portobello. Lo and behold, that backfired badly for Walpole, because he actually did take in one day Portobello. But at that battle, and there are a number of paintings and engravings based on these paintings, but in that battle he flew his flag on the Burford. So that is where the whole thing started. I said, well, here is an interesting model. It's positively identified as the Burford. She certainly looks like, first half of the 18th century ship. We do know the class ships. We have the specifications in the archives, that much I did know. They are the lines plan of Burford and ships built on the same draft. So why not produce a study of the ship specifically? There is a recently published book on the campaigns for this period. Again, subject of a different conversation, different time. But where I started my research for this Burford, and that is where I'm closing in the circle in a roundabout way, was actually in this book. Because it was telling me the years in which the ship was active, the years in which she fought, and she fought all over the world. During the War for the Austrian Succession and the so-called Jenkins year war, she was in the Caribbean, she was in the Mediterranean. Most of her career was actually in the Mediterranean in this period. And guess what? The logbooks, both the captain's logbooks and the master's logbooks, and I think that at least one of the lieutenant's logbooks survive in the archives at Q. And I was able to obtain them, of course. I have yet to finish transcribing these. I haven't had much time to play with them. But one beautiful day, this is one of the projects that I would really like to do. And for this project to begin, it all started with Riff Winfield's books. So a big, big thumbs up to these volumes, to the monumental work that Mr. Winfield has produced with his books. I am definitely an admirer of these and everything else that he has produced. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave you to have a most fantastic and pleasant rest of the afternoon, and whatever part of the day it is, wherever you're watching. And as to me, I'm going back to my beloved 17th century. There is no room for me in the 21st. So with this, all the best, and until next time.